Hello, welcome. In today's lesson, we're going to be talking about subjects and finding the subjects in sentences. Now, it's very important to know how to find a subject in a sentence because all well-constructed sentences must have a subject and must have a verb. If your sentence does not have a subject and a verb, it's called an incomplete sentence or a sentence fragment, and I do have a video on sentence fragments if you're uncertain as to what an incomplete sentence or a fragment is. So a sentence will have a subject, a verb, and some sentences that are incomplete are missing either a subject or they're missing a verb, or they can also be missing both a subject and a verb. As well, the importance of subjects in sentences is your subjects and verbs must agree, and if they do not agree, that's a major grammatical error. So let's take a look at how do you find a subject in a sentence. I've tried to give you a lot of examples and some tips on finding the subject in a sentence. Let's look through these together. The first tip in finding the subject of a sentence is ask yourself when you look at the sentence, who or what is the sentence about? That will answer you right there. The subject will often be about who or what the sentence is about. The next thing is the subject is often at the beginning of the sentence or the first few words, but not always, but frequently. The next point is the subject will usually be a noun or a pronoun. So a noun would be boy, girl, and a pronoun is a word that replaces a noun. So instead of saying the boy went to the store, you'd say he. He is a pronoun, and it could be a subject of a sentence. So nouns and pronouns, and I've listed pronouns for you, he, she, it, you, they, can be described by adjectives. So often there'll be an adjective like the little boy. Little is an adjective, and boy would be the noun and the subject. And the last point in finding subjects is to remember that a subject can be compound. It can be more than one. Like Jim and Sue are going shopping. It's a compound subject, Jim and Sue. So to find a subject, this is what you're going to do. You're going to ask yourself first, who or what is this sentence about? Let's look at these two examples. The first one. The boy fell in the parking lot. So ask yourself, what is the sentence about? Well, the answer would be the boy, because it's all about the boy falling in the parking lot, so that would be the subject. The next one, Susan and Judy have been best friends for 10 years. So ask yourself, who or what is the sentence about? Well, it's not about friends. It's about the fact that Susan and Judy, they've been friends and they've known each other for 10 years. So it's all about Susan and Judy, and that's a compound subject. There are two of them. So let's take a look and work on these three sentences together as a quick review of finding subjects. The first one. The journey started in February on a cold winter day. So you've got to look at that sentence and ask yourself, what is everything talking about? What is the sentence about? It's not about February. It's not about the cold winter day. You're talking about the journey. So the journey would be the subject. It's the journey that started. When did it start? It started in February and it started on a cold winter day. The second sentence, the presents were placed on the table. Ask yourself, what is the sentence about? And that's how you'll find the subject. And it's about the presents. That would be the subject right here, because they were placed on the table. And the third one, a little more tricky, eggs or pancakes were our breakfast choices. Now you might think that the subject is eggs, pancakes, but that's not the main thought. The main idea is we want to know what the breakfast choices are. So you could switch the sentence around, which sometimes you have to do to find the subject, and you'd say our breakfast choices were eggs or pancakes. So the subject of the sentence is right here in the word choices, because these just happen to be two of the choices. It could be eggs, it could be pancakes, it could be bacon, it could be potatoes. So the subject is choices, and those are just examples of some of your breakfast choices. So these sentences that I've outlined with you, they're all short and they're simple. And that's fine, and it's easy to find subjects in simple sentences. But you do not want to write in too many simple sentences. Your writing becomes simplistic, and it can become choppy, and you want to be more sophisticated in your writing. So in order to do that, we often add to our writing something called prepositional phrases, and they'll expand your sentences. They'll make them longer and give you a richer sentence. So let's look at prepositions. A prepositional phrase is a group of words that begins with a preposition and it will end with a noun or a pronoun, and it also answers the questions what or when. And the prepositional phrase contains nouns or pronouns, but this is what I want you to remember right here. The subject of the sentence will never be found in a prepositional phrase. So once you start crossing out prepositional phrases and you understand them, you'll know that the subject of the sentence will not be in the prepositional phrase. So a lot of rules here. Let's look at some examples and it will really clarify it for you. So what you need to do, for example, in this sentence, the furniture in the den has all been purchased this past year. That's called a prepositional phrase, and I'll be going into more depth shortly to show you how to pick them out. So that can't be the subject. So what's the whole sentence about? The furniture has all been purchased this past year. Well, the subject would be furniture, because the whole sentence is talking about purchasing furniture this past year. Or in this example, across the street, the boy was waiting for the school bus. There's one prepositional phrase, across the street. For the school bus is another. It means the subject cannot be found there. All that's left is the boy was waiting. So the subject is boy. Sometimes you'll look at a sentence and it's easy to find the subject. Other times you can't find it. You're going to follow these rules and pick out prepositional phrases. Now, what exactly is a prepositional phrase? How do you find them? Well, here's a list of common prepositions. Let's look through the list quickly together. These are all prepositions. About, above, across, after, against, along, among, around, at, before, behind, below, beneath, beside, between, beyond, by, down, during, except for, from, and bear with me, in, inside, into, like, near, of, off, on, outside, over, past, and the last grouping, since, through, to, toward, under, until, up, upon, with, within, and without. So the important thing to remember is this, that you will never, ever, ever find the subject of a sentence in a prepositional phrase. So you're going to look for one of these words in your sentence, and then there'll be a few words that follow the preposition that will end in a noun, and that group of words you cross out because the subject will never be in that grouping. So let's look, because you know what, sometimes you know the rules, you hear about the rules, excuse me, but they're hard to remember. So if you actually practice them, it makes it a lot easier. So let's work on some of these together. So here's how you're going to find the subject of the sentence. You're first going to cross out the prepositional phrases in the sentence, and then you're going to ask yourself, what is the sentence about? You're going to use those two tips to help you find the subject. So looking at the first sentence over here, the old man collapsed and fell to the floor. Look at the prepositional phrases. I'll try to get this back on the screen for you. Sorry. There we go. Where do you see a preposition? Well, the word to is a preposition. It's on the list right over here. So to the floor is a prepositional phrase. You can't have the subject in there. So you've got the old man collapsed and fell. What's the sentence about? It's about the man. Now it's an old man, but you don't include the and old. Those are words that describe the word man. They're adjectives. So the subject is simply man. The second one, we heard loud banging and footsteps in the hallway of our apartment building in the middle of the night. So how do you tackle that? The first thing is look for prepositional phrases. So the prepositional phrase, if you look here, it's a little bit cut off. You've got the word in. So in the hallway. So you've got to cross out the full thought. In the hallway is one prepositional phrase. Of is another preposition. So of our apartment, you've got to go right over because it's an apartment building. In is another preposition just above here, in the middle. And the last one would be the word of, right here, of the night. Well, look at all the words that are eliminated now to help you find the subject. We heard loud banging and footsteps. Who's all the action happening to? It's we. Yes, there's banging. Yes, there's footsteps. Yes, there's noise in the middle of the night, but we're doing all the listening. It's all things that are happening to us, so we is the subject. And the last example, the floors in your living room and the walls in your kitchen both need to be cleaned. So in this example, you would cross out the prepositional phrase in your living room, the next one in your kitchen, And so you look at it and you say, okay, what is the sentence about? It's about the floors, and it's also about the walls, because they both need to be clean. So those are your two subjects. So if you get in the habit of picking out prepositional phrases, it will really help you to pick out the subjects of the sentence. Now, there is a lot to discuss on finding subjects in sentences. So I've divided this video into two, and there will be a second part to it. And in the second part, I will be talking about problem areas in finding subjects. So please watch the second part, and I do think you'll find it very beneficial in helping you to find subjects. Thank you so much, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye-bye.